Alright folks, I now introduce to you the most expensive piece of fishing equipment that I have ever bought in my life. This reel right here, the Shimano Metanium DC, I actually bought way back in like 2018, back when I was in high school. I was a junior and didn't have a lot of money. I really wanted this reel, so I actually took up an extra job picking at a local mandarin orchard, and I saved a decent chunk of my paycheck every week. I put it away in a little bin at the top of my room, and I labeled that the Metanium DC jar. And when I got that $500, that is the first thing I did, is went on to Amazon, went on to a Japanese dealer, and bought this reel. Now, I've put this thing to the test. I've fished the crap out of this thing the past 5 years. Do I think it's worth that $500? I don't know. Figure out in today's video. All right, we're gonna go over the specs on the reel that I have right here. So this one right here is the MET-DC 101XG. So this is actually a lefty reel. The bearings are 9+1. The drag is coming in at 11 pounds. It is 6.9 ounces for weight. The gear ratio is 8.5 to 1. Line capacity is 110 yards of 10-pound test, and MSRP is about $500. So I'm going to talk real quick here about the DC, the digital control chip. For those of you that don't know, any reel you see that has a DC on it, it's typically going to be just Shimano. Basically means digital control. So there is a chip in there that controls the spool at 1/1000th of a second. And basically it helps kind of get rid of those backlashes and different things in there. This is a relatively new technology still. It's only really been, I think, on the market for less than 10 years. It's only been in America for probably 3 or 4 years. I actually bought this before it was even in the American market. I bought it from a dealer in Japan. That was right when the hype was just starting to grow on these reels. And you know it's a DC reel because when you cast it, it's going to make that DC whine, which you guys will hear right now. Yeah, so it's going to make that sound. Some people think it's really annoying. Others, including me, think it is absolute just music to our ears, but everyone's got their own opinion on that. So as for versatility, I've actually ended up using this for a lot more than just bass now. For those of you that know, the last year, 2 years, I've had kind of some arm injuries, so haven't been able to throw a lot of big heavy stuff, including bait casters for a large portion of this time. So I've kind of been using it for other things like trolling and different stuff. I've actually caught trout on this thing now. Obviously, I've caught tons of big bass on this thing. I've caught crappie, 100%. This is meant for bass. The reason why I actually have the 8.5 to 1, which is the XG, is because I originally bought this for topwater. I needed something that I was going to be able to burn a bait. You know, if I were to cast it out there a mile and a fish were to blow up 20 yards to the left, I was able to burn it in real quick and cast it out to the other side. I also use this for a lot of bed fishing, and with bed fishing, I like a high-speed reel because you're constantly working a bed fish, and if you bring it past his bed, you got to burn it in real quick so you can cast it right back out on top of that fish again. So I like a reel like that where you can burn it in real quick. Obviously, it doesn't work for every type of fishing, spinner baits, crankbaits, things where you need to slow down a little bit. This one wouldn't be the best option, but they have a bunch of different sizes. So don't just get the XG, get what you need in your arsenal. I fished with a lot of bait casters, and in my opinion, not a lot of them do a very good job at casting just a plain wacky rig Senko. I also fish a lot of lighter Senkos. I don't fish like the super heavy Gary Yamamotos. So on bait casters, sometimes it can be a little tricky throwing those Senkos. This setup right here with the Wacky Rig Senko is deadly. I have it on a 13 fishing Omen Black. It's a 6'10" medium fast paired up with this guy, and it is just the best feeling setup I have ever had in my life. It is just beautiful. It is just, oh my gosh, it is the best feeling thing I have ever fished with in my life.
Is this water? We can't.
Guys, big fish. This is a good fish. Dude, he took off. Oh!
This is a good fish, Mom. Pacey, we're going here.
This is a PB spot for me. Hold up. If he wants to go that way, let him go. Oh, yes. He took off with it. You're all right. Get him. Let's go. That's a big spot. Oh my gosh.
Wow, Case.
Yeah! Yes! That's a good spot.
So, as for durability, I don't know if you guys can tell here, but there is a lot of boat rash and marks all over this reel. This thing is extremely scratched up. That is the one con, I think, of kind of going with the all-silver reels. It's kind of like getting white shoes, right? When you get white shoes, it's going to get dirty easier. So, same thing with this, the all-silver reel. All the scratches and marks are a lot more apparent. But in my opinion, unlike shoes, I don't mind a reel that's a little bit dirty and scratched up, because to me it's kind of character. I can kind of actually know a couple of these marks. I know exactly what happened on them, so I kind of have some stories to tell with that. Usually you're going to get it right here in the front. That's usually called boat rash right here, and I got a little bit of that. I don't know, to me it kind of shows some character. I mean, I have had this thing for 5 years. I fished the crap out of it, got a lot of fun stories with it, but overall it's extremely durable. I mean, even all those little rashes and things, it's still working great. The reel itself, all the internals are working fine. I do treat this more like an investment versus just another piece of fishing equipment. Every 2 or 3 trips, I'm going in and oiling and greasing a couple of the things that I think really need it. I'm going in and cleaning it up. I'm getting rid of some of the gunk and weeds inside some of the spool areas. I'm really doing a good job of keeping this reel clean and taking care of it, because it is a $500 reel, right? Like, that's expensive. That's really freaking expensive for a fishing reel. So, you want to make sure that it's going to work for years and years and years more, right? If I had to guess, I'm going to have this reel for 5+ more years. And if I had to guess, even in 10 years, this reel is probably still going to outperform some of the new reels that are on the market. All right, in terms of looks and function, kind of talked about it in the durability aspect already. Some of the rashes and stuff you get on the scratches you get on the reel, I kind of think it's kind of badass in my opinion. The all silver reel, I just love. Shimano just doesn't make an ugly reel. I mean, they really don't. It's definitely an attention getter for sure. It is just an absolutely beautiful reel. Another thing I noticed about this reel is that it is not made in Malaysia or China like a lot of the other reels are. I noticed a lot of Shimano's higher end reels are almost always made in Japan, which I think is kind of cool. Now, as for price, which probably a lot of you are wondering on this section, is it worth the $500? And is it still worth the $500 after the 5 years I've fished with it? Here's my opinion on it. I've fished with it for 5 years already. I will probably at least have it for another 5. So let's just say I have this reel for 10 years, right? Let's take that $500, right? And let's divide it by the 10 years. That's $50 a year, basically, that I have for this reel, right? Basically, you're getting $50 of reel a year. In my opinion, $50, that is so worth it. It is so worth it. It is an absolutely incredible reel. I mean, I have never, ever fished with anything like this piece of equipment in my life. Obviously, for some of you, especially those that don't fish a lot, this probably isn't worth it to you. I get it. But there's probably a select group of people in there that are wondering, man, I really want a high-end fishing reel. I haven't had one. I want to make that jump. I just don't know if it's worth it. Oh my gosh, it is so worth it. It is so worth it. All right, now that you guys know my opinion here on the price and kind of my overall opinion, let's go over the pros and cons here real quick. In terms of the pros, this thing can cast a mile. It can also cast light lures really well. It just looks absolutely incredible. It's such a sleek looking reel. It's the ability to fine tune it is really, really nice. There's a lot of extra features on this reel that I didn't explain in the video that can help actually versus braid, fluoro, mono. You can actually adjust that stuff. So it's very, very nice in that aspect. It's also extremely durable. It's held up for me for 5 years and I don't plan on retiring it anytime soon. As for the cons, obviously, this reel is very expensive, and sometimes the settings can be a little bit touchy, especially for people that have never used a DC reel or a high-end DC reel. I struggled a little bit at first, but once I got them dialed in, I very rarely ever have to mess with them anymore. There's tons of good videos online. People will show you how to do it. I'm giving this a Humbug rating of 9 out of 10. The only reason why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 is just because it is very expensive. I think even if this reel came in at like $350, I think this could have potentially been my first 10 out of 10 product. Pretty much other than price, it's a 10 out of 10 reel. So absolutely incredible. Wow. Fish this reel. Once in your life, fish this reel. If you guys liked this review, you're also going to love these 2 videos up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you got something out of today's video. Hopefully I helped you with your, purchasing journey. And we'll see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.